Hey guys, we are back with another Banshee shifter cart video. So if you guys remember from the last video, we got a ton of stuff done. So we got the engine mounted up in the rear. These are not the final mounts, just wanted to get the engine into position. The front mounts, we move forward. We got a special front sprocket, new rear sprocket here, and then the chain I'm not gonna be hooking up in this video. I just wanna make sure the engine's in its final position before I do anything final to any of this stuff over here. And then the next big thing is we want to get the radiator all in position here, and then our throttle clutch cables, hopefully get those hooked up today, and also get that fuel system all ready to go. So we got a ton of stuff to do on this project, so I'm going to go ahead and get to work here on moving the seat down a little bit. Alright guys, so I got the right rear mount moved down about 1.5 inches, and it really evened out the seat, so it's looking a lot better. The last thing I need to do on this seat though is just make a couple front mounts. So the original mounts were just too far back to use, so I'm going to go ahead make some new ones here. It's just going to be a crossbar, so we can get 2 mounts just in one crossbar. That'll be pretty rigid as well. So we got these front seat mounts into place, so I'm going to go ahead and tack them. I did do a little grinding on the top of them just to get that right angle with the seat. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tack them into place, and then I'll put the crossbar on here and tack that, and then we can go ahead and see if it mounts up with the seat. Alright guys, so I went ahead and installed the seat here, and then you can see where the bar is lining up that tacked into place. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just take the Sharpie, so I know where to drill on this. And then over here, what I'm actually going to do is put a hole, a new hole here, because these 2 holes that were already in the seat were off center. So whoever did this kind of put them at a different spot on the seat. So I'm going to have to go straight across to right here and just put a new hole right there. And that'll allow us to be lined up on this bar good. Alright guys, it is actually the next day, but we did get the seat mounted up all the way here, and it is in pretty good for just being tacked in place, so I'm happy with that. But the next step is going to be move on to the radiator, which should go right here, and I'm going to go grab that out of the Banshee, and we'll figure out how we're going to mount it up onto the cart. Alright guys, so we got the radiator in place here, and kind of what I'm thinking is to put the steel bar like this, and then run another piece just off of the seat mount here that's going to come out and intersect with this bar. And if that's not enough, I might have to reinforce it somewhere else, whether that's here on the axle or removable piece here. I kind of want to avoid mounting anything on this removable piece, just because it's nice to be able to remove this side piece if you need to at some point. Alright guys, so we got the radiator mounted up here in the middle, but it's not, I mean, it doesn't need to be super stable for the radiator, but there is a third mount up here that I am going to use. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to weld onto this piece right here, and then get a piece that goes up to here, and then a piece out of the side that'll attach to this mount. I will have to weld onto this piece, the removable piece, but it'll be fine because I can just take that bolt out and still remove this without an issue. All right, so the radiator is all mounted up, so we are good there. The only thing is, you can see this piece is a little long and it's covering up the bleeder hose a little bit. So I'm just gonna trim that back when I take the radiator off to do all of the final welds, since it's just tack welded in place. And I'll obviously cut this shorter and just clean up a bunch of things, make it look a lot better. But for right now, this kind of just a proof of concept as placement, and it seems to be working good. It's really stable for just being tacked into place right now, so I'm happy with that. The next step though is going to be, if you guys remember from when I did the engine mounts, the Banshee has an engine mount in the rear, one in the front, and then it has a vibration mount that attaches to the bottom. So I don't know if it needs that, but I'm going to go ahead and just put it on there anyways, just to be safe. So I'll go take that vibration mount off of the Banshee frame and then install it onto here. Alright, so these two are the mounts here that go to the frame. I'm not actually sure like what the point of these is, I mean, besides vibration, because they move around pretty easy. But I'm going to go ahead, pull them off. They're super dirty. I'll probably clean them up in the parts washer, and then we can throw them onto the cart. Okay, so the two bottom mounts are in place here. It was a little tricky to get them screwed in, just because where they bolt up to the bottom of the engine is like right under, or like right in between where the frame rail is. So you got to kind of fit your hand under there. But we were able to get them in. So you can see this one, if I move it out here, it gets pretty much straight, which is what I want. But this one's catching on the frame rail here, so I can't get it straight. So I'm just going to have to do some cutting and modification to this mount here. I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do yet, but I'm gonna get some stuff out of the way and then kind of figure it out as I go. But I want both of these to be mounted straight like they were on the Banshee chassis. So I'm gonna go ahead and do some cutting and welding. All right, guys, well, we now have the bottom engine mounts in place, so that's awesome. We're all done getting the engine mounting lined up. We just have to reinforce it later on. But right now, I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can get this shifter hooked up to the engine. All right, guys, so this is where the shifter comes back to the shifting mechanism here. And then we might have lucked out because it's already right by here. And then this is the actual shifter off the Banshee. So we might be able to just use the shifter here and then bolt this on to part of the original shift lever here. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this cut, and then drill a hole in it, and we'll see if it works. Okay, so the shifter is installed and actually went pretty smooth here, but I hooked up the Kickstarter right here just to be able to turn the engine over just a little bit to get the gears to line up. The only thing, it shifts good both ways, in and out of the gears. The only thing is I'll stick a shorter bolt on here, obviously, or cut this one down at some point. But other than that, the shifting went super easy, probably the easiest thing on this project so far. But the next thing I'm gonna do is probably the clutch cable, which will come to right here. And then this is your clutch on the shifter cart. So I'll hook that up, and then the throttle cable here. I don't know if I'm gonna get to fuel system today, just because I have to tap the reed valve, or tap into the cylinder here to get a suction for the pulse line. And I'm not planning on using the cylinder, so I don't necessarily want to spend the time tapping it if I'm not gonna use it. So we'll maybe save that for another video, but gonna get the clutch cable and the throttle cable hooked up, and that should be some pretty good progress. All right, so the clutch cable hooks up here. It just pops into this piece, and then we'll put it right here for now, and then there's a clamp piece that'll go on top of it. All right, so the clutch is installed here. It's a little bit stiff to pull, but you only really have to use it to get into first gear on a shifter cart. But I'll get this cable lubed up and hopefully that'll fix it. And there's a little bit excess here I'll trim off at some point, but I just wanted to leave it on to make it easy to get the cable in next time. And then, yeah, if you look down here, you can see the lever moving. So everything's working good with the clutch. So now I'm gonna get to work on the throttle cable. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the carburetor on just because the throttle cable is already installed into it. And then I'm just gonna start out using the throttle cable off of the Banshee, and I might switch to a shifter cart one eventually, but I'll show you why here. So basically this Banshee cable ends in a ball, and then the way the shifter carts are meant to be hooked up is wire comes out from the throttle cable, goes through this little loop here, and then comes back and they get clamped together. So kind of a weird design, but it works. But this ball actually presses right into here and it stays in there pretty tight. So that's what I'm gonna start with. The only thing I need to do is put a mount right there to hold the cable as it moves back and forth. So I'm gonna start off putting that mount, and then I'll show you how I press that ball in there. All right guys, so I got a little tab made up here. I'm gonna go ahead and weld this on the frame. And in case you guys are wondering, I am gonna be repainting this frame at some point just because I'm grinding all this paint off, and after I get everything working correctly, I'll make everything look a lot better than it does right now. All right, well, the cable is hooked up here. It works okay. It rubs a little bit on here, so this is not gonna be the permanent solution. I'm probably gonna order one for this cart just to make sure it works perfectly, but for next video, in case that doesn't come in, this will be okay just to start up the Banshee if we get there, and then rip it around the driveway a couple of times for you guys. Well, it is getting pretty late tonight, guys, so that's gonna be where we're gonna cut it off for today's video, but we did get a ton of stuff done. This Banshee should be pretty much ready to run in the next video. Just need to get the exhaust and the radiator hoses hooked up and the fuel system. If you guys know where to get an exhaust, let me know. I can't find the 2-in-1 pipes that come off to the right. I can't find those anywhere, or just the drag pipes. So if you guys got any plugs for that, let me know. But yeah, I'm super excited to get this Banshee running, and then we can actually soup this cart up, make it look awesome, get everything on it looking perfect. So stay tuned for the next video. Make sure your post notifications are on, and if you want to see content behind the scenes, go ahead and check out my Instagram.